This is the CLA, a new model that targets a young, affluent Mercedes shopper who wants to rock a Benz without parting with a massive amount of cash to do it. Starting around 34 grand, you get big deal looks, a very classy and well-done cabin in typical Mercedes fashion, and a 4-cylinder engine that's good on fuel. You might say that as a sort of entry-level luxury model, CLA is a pretty sensible and level-headed decision. Of course, for those shoppers who don't like sensible and level-headed decisions, there's now this, the new CLA45 AMG. It's the new low-riding, high-boost entry to the AMG Performance Division's lineup of snorty rocket ships, and it's a little beast. If you're looking at the souped-up CLA45 AMG model, it probably hasn't been all that long since you installed some dress-up parts like these on a car yourself. Maybe not so long ago you built something like this, or this. Countless dollars and hours and smiles and cursing go into building custom compacts like these ones. And as a fact of life for folks who build them in their own garages, you get older, have more responsibilities, and maybe run out of time for your car building hobby. So now, a few years later, if it makes more sense for you to buy that sporty import compact with all of the work already done, Mercedes and their Performance AMG team are hoping you'll check out their latest because they've done all the go-fast tweaking for you. There's a body kit with vents and more vents and a front splitter. It's got the fancy xenon lights the tuners love. There are big exhaust pipes and humongous red brake calipers clamping on big slotted discs behind custom rims wrapped in performance rubber. You probably wanted some slick sport seats in your former compact tuner car, and the CLA45 has them. Metal pedals? Check. Performance gauges? Check. Lowered suspension? You got it. If teenaged me had gotten his hands on the standard CLA model and a pile of cash for customization, this is probably what I'd have come up with. And with the CLA, you get all of this stuff without waiting for your parts to arrive from eBay and installing them yourself. What's under the hood may remind you of your first custom sports car too, thanks to a hand-built 4-cylinder turbo engine that's the craziest. You get a hand-built 2-liter 4-cylinder engine with a turbocharger about as big as your head, running well over 20 pounds of boost. Now that's good for the better part of 360 horsepower. Used to be you needed a V8 for that kind of output, and more recently at least a boosted 6-cylinder, but here they've done it with a 4-banger and not even a big one. This thing goes like absolute heck, and then it's actually decent on fuel too. Now, a 2-liter 355 horsepower engine sounds like a great big deal, but remember, running a little engine with great big boost is nothing new. The tuner kids have been doing that for 20 years. But unlike those boost-loving do-it-yourselfers, this one has a warranty. And you don't need to worry about it trying to throw a rod through its block or melting down like an overboosted Eagle Talon while you're trying to show that guy with the Mustang what's up. Drive gently and the turbo stays offline, the engine idles along, and a nice little hum from the sports exhaust follows the CLA45 around. Hammer on it and you get a slab of lag followed by a lot of exhaust snort and a body slam into your seat as the turbo pressurizes the entire intake system to 26 psi. Head for red line and the instruments turn red to remind you to click the upshift paddle, which rips off a gear change in milliseconds while causing a loud burp from the tailpipes. And if you had a tuned-up GTI, MR2, Evo, Silvia, or some other turbo toy, you'll be familiar with the barrage of turbo noises coming from under the hood too. Have a listen. You can only get one of those paddle shift dual clutch transmissions here. There's no manual available, which sucks if you want to row them on your own, but this gearbox does do a pleasing job of firing off rev-matched, pretty darn quick gear changes. You're backed up for further motoring shenanigans by a whack of AMG engineering upgrades too. Because they've modified the chassis right down to the steering knuckles and bushings and even reinforced the welding in key areas, CLA45 handles precisely, flatly, and with an athletic and playful confidence that sees it clamp into fast corners with gusto. The steering is quick and mischievous, but also heavy enough to make you appreciate the mass of the car. It's a little more frisky and less calculated than, say, a comparable BMW when thrown around. In all, the engineers fully recalibrated the elasto-kinematic character of the chassis for maximum agility here, and that results in another familiar element from your former custom sports car experience, a stiff, rough, and busy ride that you put up with because it tears up corners like a boss. Those massive AMG brakes scrub off speed in a jiff when your radar detector goes off too. They bite hard and fast from an initial press and give you the impression that they're working overtime to get you stopped. Conversely, the all-wheel drive system included as standard here in the interests of prolonged tire existence does its very best to get you off the line in a hurry with no drama, wheel spin, or fuss like this. take it all in from a cabin that's lined with plenty of premium touches, contrast stitching, suede metal, perforated leather, and a gorgeous set of performance instruments. They've even glued a tablet to the dashboard so you can see where you're going. Just note that if you've got a grown family, they're not likely to fit comfortably. The rear seats are tight and very limited in headroom. It might have 4 doors, but Mercedes does call this one a coupe. Mileage on my watch landed at 10.1 liters per 100 clicks of premium unleaded after about 1,500 clicks of driving, plenty of which was on the highway. The tester was rolling on winter tires, which can use a bit more fuel, but still, that mileage is fantastic given the power output. I've put more fuel through a Subaru WRX. So let's sum it up. What's hot? Mostly the performance, the looks, and the way the CLA45 AMG represents a high-end take on a custom compact. The stereo system is also really good, the headlights are fantastic, and it feels the part of a world-class compact luxury hot rod. If you like turbo noises, you'll be pretty happy too, and surprisingly, it's really good on fuel. So what's not hot? Well, I left the CLA45 wishing for maybe a manual transmission option, at times a more comfortable ride, and maybe a little more pleasing engine sound, since this one, other than the cool backfire noises when you shift up, sounds pretty dull. And though I did like the touch of raw and ragged noise and feel to the drivetrain here, some will be wishing for a little more overall comfort. This might be an AMG Benz, but it's buried very deeply in the sport side of the luxury sports equation. End of the day, CLA45 AMG captures all the joy of rolling a baller status custom compact with all the hard work done for you.